Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Welcome to A Celtic World, the Tactical Review. I'm Anthony Maguire. As always, I'm joined by Paul Massey as we analyse Celtic 3, Aberdeen 1. The wilfriednancy revolution has begun. His first victory as manager of Celtic. Not without its trials and tribulations. I described it last night on Axom as a roller coaster. I said we're a profligate in front of goals. But before we get into all that, Paul, you've had some knee surgery. You've been lying on the couch. You've been watching the cricket. I've been at work watching the cricket. Australia have retained. I don't understand why we say retained. We've won the Ashes because we're 3-0 up with 2 games to play. Firstly, how are you feeling? Secondly, I'm assuming you didn't get up to too much this weekend, but tell us what you've been up to before we get into what was a very entertaining 90 minutes of football last night.
Yeah, thank you, mate. Feeling pretty good considering the surgery last Wednesday, which was, for anyone that cares about the technicals, multiple tear in the meniscus cartilage on my good knee. My left knee's shot. It has been for the best part of 20 odd years, but the right knee's been doing the heavy lifting for that period, and it finally had enough. And I don't even know how it actually happened. Usually you can pinpoint when an injury happens, but I think this one's a bit of old age. Woke up one morning, couldn't bend the bugger. So pleased to get it in. Surgeon was happy with it. Recovery is underway. I remember when I had this surgery 20 odd years ago, like you're on crutches and the recovery was pretty long. No crutches, literally walked out of the hospital, limped out of the hospital, ice pack strapped on there. And yeah, been back walking the dogs for the last few days. So basically timed my dog walking to about the end of the Ashes, which was just the way the recovery kind of landed. But yeah, so I missed the first session and a half under the knife and under anaesthetic. But yeah, got the second half of the second session on the first day, and barely missed a ball since. Great. Obviously things haven't been going great in our football world. So yeah, being an Aussie cricket fan has given some decent relief. 11 days to win and retain the Ashes is up there as a bit of a record, especially when this was the best England team in decades that was coming to win the Ashes back. So yeah, thoroughly enjoyed that, and really that's all I've been doing for the last few days. Like I say, back out walking the dogs with the missus over the weekend. She's got me on minor admin duties that I've got to sort of get organised whilst I'm reasonably immobile.
Wrapping presents?
No wrapping presents. No, luckily presents not really big. Like most of people getting presents are overseas, so they've been sort of shipped straight there. So no wrapping of presents, thankfully. I'll just like admin life tasks that have been kind of being put to the wayside. Yeah. So basically, I keep telling her that it'd be unlikely that I'll get all of these done because a lot of trades and the like will have closed up for the Christmas period, so I may not get responses to my inquiries. So excuses are already being written. But yeah, other than that, just kind of getting back in. I do feel a tiny bit guilty because I was supposed to have this surgery a couple of weeks ago or 2.5 weeks ago, and then I was supposed to sort of vaguely recovered and be back working over the Christmas period, providing cover, and that she decided to do the same, because we had a fair bit of leave earlier in the year. And as luck would have it, then my surgery got delayed, and then I've been signed off for the whole Christmas period. So she's a little bit dark with me on all of that. But so I'm kind of having to kind of pull my weight as best as I can. So yeah, that's that. And I didn't watch the game live, which we usually do. We usually stay up for it or get up for it. I'll be honest, I wasn't hugely optimistic, but I thought being signed off on a Monday morning, I can get up at my usual time, and instead of going to work, I can watch the replay on Celtic TV. So I took the opportunity, switched off all notifications on the phone, and watched the game as live this morning. And a bit hairy there for a wee while.
I've just been working like a dog, so I've done over 120 hours in the last 9 or 10 days or something like that. I just staff on holidays and whatnot, so just getting through it. So I had yesterday off, which was a godsend, and I got the text message on Saturday that, do you want to do AXOM? And I was like, yes, I want to do AXOM. And I said yes, and I started thinking about that decision. I'm going, that could be a really difficult environment to be in if we don't get a win. And as we've alluded to, there was a 15-minute period there where it all could have went a bit pear-shaped, but thankfully that wasn't the case in the end. But always dangerous when you're doing it live, literally at the moment. But anyway, like I said, we got the win. But we're now going to dissect that and understand that. McLaughlin P in the comments, nice and early, he's saying it could have been 10-1. Yes, I think probably 5 or 6 is definitely a possibility, hence the profligate bit I said at the start. And he's also saying here that the XG expectancy was highest it's been since we battered Dundee United 9-0. That would be an Ange game. I don't mind it would have been, because it was always the talk was that could we take 10 off a team, and that was the closest we got, obviously. And what's Mesh saying here? He's saying Aberdeen never do squads, in many ways better than Hearts. But the form team, and we've managed to beat them. So yeah, I mean, we'll get into that. I didn't particularly think Aberdeen started the game terribly well, and I think they played particularly well, and they shot themselves right before half time. Spoiler alert. But yeah, like I said, I just kind of feel that it was more about how Celtic were playing rather than the opposition. We had to go out and set our stall out, and obviously the backdrop to this game. Obviously, we've got the fact that we'd lost 4 in a row, first time since Jock's teens last season in charge. So that was like 1978, 77, 78, something like that.
78. I was a fetus when that happened. So, yeah.
I was even a glint in my parents' eye at that point, because I was born in 84. So, yeah, a long time ago. A long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. So yeah, so not the sort of welcome sort of history that you want a new manager to sort of find himself under, and under a lot of scrutiny. We sat here a week ago saying that he really needs to get a win against Dundee United, and in fairness, there was enough chances in the first half of that game to win that match. I woke up at halftime and watched the second half going, you're all saying we should be better than Dundee United. I don't see it, when it was a game of 2 halves. So I guess it was a matter of putting together a 90-minute performance or near enough, and that was probably going to be the challenge to the Celtic squads that's probably been obviously absolutely murdered by injuries. And we may as well bring the team sheet up here, Paul. No Hatate, which was obviously the big mood music coming into this one from a squad point of view. And then the other thing here, again, I'm not convinced about these positions, particularly Maeda and McCowan, and we'll touch on that in a second, Paul. But the 2 changes from the Dundee United game were Hatate dropping out the squad altogether, and then Paulo Bernardo dropping to the bench in favour of Benjamin Egan, who is, probably the world's, maybe the most frustrating Celtic player at the moment. He has these moments and then looks great one minute, looks terrible the next. But, again, spoiler alert, he scores our first goal, takes it rather well. But, just I said at halftime last night, he's one of these players that just frustrates, because he definitely pops up in the right positions, and then doesn't always take his chances, and lacks that probably wee burst of speed that we probably need just to really take advantage of the opposition. But Paul, 2 changes. One, was clearly enforced by the fact that Hatate is not in the squad. And I think the other thing here, which doesn't show up on this graphic here, is that we had 5 defenders on the bench. So we had Simpson Pusey, we had Kobe Donovan, we had Liam Stiles, we had Dane Murray, and Inamura. So our bench was predominantly defenders, of which 2 are recognised centre halves, and we've got 2 recognised fullbacks.
3 of which are recognised centre backs.
Sorry, Scales. 3. Yeah, Liam Stiles. Sorry, my bad. Yeah, that's 3. Scales, you're right.
Scales, Murray, and JSP. Yeah.
Yep. And then we've got Tierney and Ralston, which we doubled down on from the game against Dundee United. So you're sort of thinking, well, he's not backing down, is Wilfried. He's set his stall out. He's sticking with the program, and he's going for it. What were your thoughts? Because I'm looking at this team going, based on what happens during the week, I'm thinking, oh, this is like if we don't get a result tonight, I mean, we're at Celtic Park. Admittedly, Aberdeen were in Europe during the week. They were away to Sparta Prague, got 3-0. But, like at the moment, you would not be putting a bet on Celtic to win anything because, four losses in the bounce. When's it going to turn around? I think somebody was saying, statistically speaking, it had to happen, but there's no such thing in football, is there? And yeah, so obviously, I'm assuming you saw the squads as you turned it on, watching it live, or not live, not on delay.
I saw the squad because the squad comes out about an hour before kickoff, hour and 15, 20 before kickoff. So I saw the squad before I went to sleep last night. And obviously I just saw it on social media. So it was from the Celtic Instagram page. And really it's just a list. And that seems to be the main challenge at the minute when you get a list of the Celtic team is to try and guess who's playing where, what might be happening, to be honest. So so I took me a little bit. I was nearly asleep. I'd taken a strong painkiller as well. The opioids were kicking in. So to try and get my kind of dizzy brain or fuzzy brain to try and work out from a list of how he was going to play, but pretty simple, not dissimilar to how he played on Thursday night. Wednesday night. And so on initial look, I had my concerns. Now, obviously, the first thing to notice is Hatati's not in the squad at all. As usual, Celtic being as good as they are at communication, we've got no idea what has happened there. He could have punched the manager, or he could have an injury. Like, you literally got no idea. It could be literally, he could have decided he's up sticks and he's gone back to Japan. Like, literally, it could be anything. We've no idea. But I assume he's got an injury, which means yet more problems in that department. You just sort of feel a little bit flat when, I think I messaged my brother or one of the group chats, or maybe both, saying, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing and expecting a different outcome. And that's kind of what the last few games have felt like. We'll get into individual performances, but yeah, I agree with you. This doesn't really illustrate how they lined up. I think McCowan was effectively in that wing back position and Maeda in the sort of 10 or off the front. But they were particularly fluid as a pair. And I might as well touch on this now. I thought they were fluid as a pair, and neither of them did either of those jobs, if you ask me. Like, I don't think McGowan tracked back more than Maeda, which is why I would say he's probably more of the wing back. But more often than not, in attacking phase, Maeda was the wider player. McCowan was tucking in. I saw a couple of times in I think it was early in the second half, McGregor was screaming at I think McCowan, to get some width, and he was tucking in and sort of dropping into a natural, more attacking midfield position, which is understandable. That's his position. But thankfully, unlike the United game, where I think the two of them sort of occupied the same space too much the game, particularly in the first half when it was going well, they did a bit of that, but they sort of managed to get out of each other's way. Second half, they were really in a bit of a mess. And Maeda seemed to have the wherewithal to go, well, if he's in there, I need to be pulling wide, and he did that. But neither of them really offered much in the way of defensive track back, and that, as we'll come on to, is part of the problem, the ongoing problem I can see with this system, and especially with the personnel we've got, or how the manager's sort of utilising the personnel he's got. Because it's a good point to make that there's 3 centre-backs on the bench and only 1 on the pitch. Although there's 2 on the pitch when we give the goal up, and we'll get into the detail of that later. But we looked really good going forward at multiple times, and we should have been way more comfortable. But the defensive setup gives me the fear. The middle, like Trusty and KT, not so much. Like, KT's played there for Scotland, he's played there for Arsenal. Yeah. He's a very good player. Barring injury, you'd probably get him to the point where he would have been world class. So he's good enough to understand how to occupy that space. Ralston he's a hard-working, reasonably limited right back. That's what he is.
Well, there's a reason why you call him the Bricky, isn't it? Like he's
Look, he's
that journeyman type, you know.
He's a grafter, right? He's a grafter, and that's no disrespect to him. I've been relatively happy with him as our backup right back, and Donovan coming through should ultimately replace him and as that. But obviously, AJ's been injured and is injured now for a good extended period, and I think it's at the limitations of Anthony Ralston's ability, defensively, positionally, everything to sort of become what he's been asked to be here. I think if he's in the team, he should be the right wing back. Same goes for Cole.
I was literally just about to ask you that, Paul. So I've brought a few comments here, so I'll try and bring the comments in as much as we can. So that was a criticism of last week's show. Apologies, I can only do so much. I'm multitask.
I'm merely one man.
I'm merely one man who's worked a lot of hours this week and was up late this morning doing all this before. So anyway, so McLaughlin P saying here, AJ can play with Yanez, no problem at all. And he's saying we should buy a right centre back. My dad's saying here that AJ will be one of the centre backs when fit, so he could be that right centre back in place of where Ralston was playing last night. And then McLaughlin P also saying that AJ could play in Ralston, it would look a lot better. So where do you see it? Because I know with Columbus Crew, it was Montreal where wilfriednancy was when he linked up with AJ the first time around. I know he deployed him as a right wing back, I believe.
He played him both, but he played more as a right wing back. And I think latterly he had some spells at right centre back. Now, I think just because you stick rigidly to your system, I think you can be fluid with the players within it, as he's sort of shown already, and particularly how we've shown with the left-hand side, because he doesn't really have the players how he wants them to play. So he's sort of shoehorning players in and sort of allowing them to do kind of what they want or need to some degree. So I think in games where you want to be more expansive and attacking, you could play AG as a right centre-back, and he's not really going to do that much defending. In games where you need to be a bit more robust, and I'm looking at maybe derbies or top of the table clashes or European games, you'd maybe, the Europe for sure, you maybe play him in the right wing back position, so that when my issue with the system as I see it currently is a 3-4-3 is fine, 3-5-2, whatever you want to call it. In defensive shape, that should be a 5. Like when you're feeling pressure, that should be a 5, and it isn't. At best, it's a 3 when we're in the defensive shape. For big chunks of the game, it's a 1 and a 2.
A lot of times it's a 2, bro.
Sometimes it's a 1. And sometimes it's not even that. Like Trusty was the deepest lying player, and he was about 35 yards from goal at some point second half. Now, admittedly, we're playing 10 men, but that is really high risk, especially when you're only carrying a 1-0 lead. So I've got no real issues with 3-4-3 as a formation. I think it's too fast too soon and all that currently. But I think if you're going to play it, you've got to have players that have got some sort of defensive capability in the wing back position, because they are supposed to be part of the defensive formation when you are feeling the heat and being attacked.
It's in the name.
Yeah. So I think that's some of my concern with the system as it currently plays out is it isn't defensive enough. You've got players that are fullbacks try to play centre backs to varying degrees of success. And admittedly, we're only 5 games into this, right? But you see, look, so there will be some benefit. Like players will get better at this. I'm sure they will.
Well, I think Yang has got better at it.
He has.
I think Yang's improved, and I think Yang did a job last night. And you said that 4 games ago, you'd be like, you're off your head. But he has grown into that role on the right hand side. He's kind of had to, because we don't really have. I think Colby Donovan could play that role.
You say that, but I think Colby Donovan's probably the best suited to it. You could play Anthony Ralston in that role. I've even toyed with the idea, because he played there for Augsburg occasionally. He played in a sort of 3-4-3. Arnie Engels could play out there. Like, he's naturally right-footed. He's got an amazing engine. He's tall. He's physical. He passes well. He crosses well. And he's got some defensive capability. So, given you've got Bernardo sitting on the bench, like you could you've got the under-23 captain of Portugal, stick him next to the skipper, stick your record signing outright. Like, otherwise you've got a player who was, basically out the door in the summer, bar for the fact we didn't have enough bodies around. I just find it odd that, and we're getting kind of off topic, but I'm sure we're happy to discuss this because it's a bigger picture of where we end up over the next few games and beyond. Is fine if you want to persist with the system, but I'm still not sure he's got a complete idea of who's best to fit into that.
Yeah,
and but the problem is the games keep coming, right? He's got first week.
This is actually probably the longest break he's had. Like,
well, it is, and then you've got Christmas in the middle of it, right? So he's got that bit of a challenge. But you're right. There's no game between Sunday to Saturday. Is the longest gap we've had. He talked a lot about 9 games in 28 days, which we've just come off the back of. It is a ridiculous schedule, and he's landed in the middle of it, which again, I still don't see the sense in why we did that. Like, he should have probably come in either before or after, but not during. But that's been and gone now. So yeah, I think the other problem you've got here is we've got 2 big games coming up for sure, Livy and Motherwell, and neither of those will be easy, particularly the Motherwell game. But then you've got the Huns coming to us, and like, if he chops and changes over the next 2 games to try and tweak it, to try and work out if there's a better combination than he's already using, and it doesn't work, you then got a more unsettled side going into that match. So he's kind of, and it's of his own making. It's due to his own sort of determinism or stubbornness, or whatever you want to call it, single-mindedness, if you're being kind. But he's backed himself in a position where he's has to play the system, and he still doesn't know his best players, and he's asking players to play a system they're unfamiliar with and get to grips with tactics they're not, that they're starting from scratch on. So he is really caught between and betwixt. Like, if I sort of feel that he now does have to kind of persist with what he's got, or what he's gone with, because you can see tiny bits of improvement in some of those players. Yang's a good example. Amira seems to have worked out where he needs to be comparatively to who's around him. But I still think, like, somebody like Simpson Pusey, right? He's played Champions League football for Manchester City, right? He's played Champions League
right
football.
Centre back.
He is a right centre back. That is his position, and he would play it in a 4-back 4. But I'm sure, and in his only appearance for us, he played right back. Which, again, I've still no idea why he played that match and then got completely bombed out. He was excellent and borderline man of the match in that game. So yeah, you've got a Manchester City player. You're not telling me that he's a worse option than Anthony Ralston at right centre back in a back 3. It's just odd. It's an odd situation to be in. He's an athlete. He's a good passer. Tall. Yeah, that's another thing. With only one centre back on the pitch, I think you guys touched on it on the Axum show last night. We were lacking in height severely. You got Engels, and that after that, and Tierney's a borderline 6 foot, I think. After that, you're sort of struggling for height. And luckily, Aberdeen didn't really utilise that. They didn't get the ball far enough forward to really threaten too much on crosses, and we didn't give them too many set pieces. But every time we gave them one, you're terrified. You think there's a good chance a goal could go in at any point. So yeah, it's far from, like, it's a great result. It's not as good as it should have been, and the caveat is against 10 men. And very nearly, like, 89 minutes we waited to get the would-be winner. So it's far from perfect. But yeah, I think we've got more stress ahead.
All right, I'm going to bring some comments in, and then we're going to get into a few moments in the match. So Paul Pett saying, "Hail, hail, everyone. Please keep chatting amongst yourselves in the comments. I'll pull them up as best I can as we go along. Bear with me just a second. I'm just going to see what's been a lot of chat already. So thank you for everyone getting involved. That's an interesting comment from my age. She's sort of saying that he does use due diligence around rotations. So one of the things that Alan Morrison, he was saying from Huddle Breakdown, he was saying that wilfriednancy relies a lot on the sports science. So he sort of says, well, all right, if somebody's in the red, I'm going to rotate him out and bring someone else in, regardless of the circumstances of the situation. And I guess at the moment, that's probably understandable because we've got an injury list as long as our arms. and we really can't afford another hamstring injury. So I guess that's fair, because I get the feeling that Martin O'Neill and Brendan Rodgers kind of thumb their nose up at that a wee bit and just sort of go, well, I'm going to play the same team every week because that's the team that gets me a win, and that's all that's important, sort of thing. So I think, I think that's something we have to look at. And I know that he brought in a fitness instructor or a fitness coach as part of his backroom team when he came in. Shawnee Boy, who does our American show, hail from Pennsylvania. Hail to you, sir. Thank you for joining us. And then McLaughlin P is just talking about Simpson Pusey saying maybe his attitude is questionable. I mean, there's a few players who haven't really featured much, and he's one of them. Obviously, Dane Murray's not featured since the Hearts game. Well, that was a disaster. So I mean, that's understandable to a degree. And Paulo Bernardo's the other one. That's now 3 managers that he sort of seems to drop in and drop out, and he didn't even manage to get off the bench this morning or last night. So bit of a head scratcher for me, as you say, Paul, captain under 19s, under 21s at Portugal. But hey, what do we know? We're just supporters that just sit here and like to talk about Celtic on a Monday night. And I think the main consensus is we need a striker. I mean, that's Johnny Kenny, bless his wee Irish heart, but that lad, he could play to now until fucking doomsday, and I still don't think he'd score a goal. And he had 2 really good chances in that first half to find the back of the net and couldn't take either of them. So I'm going to see if I can bring some photos up. So just bear with me as I'm doing that. Bring some screenshots up. I mean, the thing is, Paul, I'm going to bring up these screenshots pretty quickly, and you can just tell me to stop when you want to talk about one of them. But I've got a list of actions that happened in this first half, and I've got about 20 different attacks, and they're all Celtic. I mean, I think there's one or two corners to Aberdeen. There's a couple of interceptions by Trusty, but for the most part, it's all Celtic, and it's literally every 2 or 3 minutes we've created some sort of a chance. Some of them are half chances. Maeda ran offside a couple of times, but ultimately we were playing in Aberdeen's half, and they didn't really know what to do. And I think this image here is a perfect example of Luke McCowan just picking up the ball in this space. He ran riot in that first half. I thought he was well on track for a man of the match performance, because every time he got the ball, he was just in acres of space. He was able to slip in Maeda. He just seemed to have heaps and heaps of time. And I think, maybe Thielen missed a trick not starting Shinnie. He brought Shinnie off on at halftime or just after halftime just to try and tighten up a bit. But I kind of felt that we absolutely bossed the midfield. And that's where we sort of obviously, got into positions where we could create chances. But the issue being that our quality in that final third, and this has been an issue under Brendan Rodgers, it's been an issue under Martin O'Neill, and it's only natural that it's still going to be an issue under wilfriednancy, because it's the same group of players. We just lack that wee bit of quality, that decision making, that final pass, that final ball, that finish. It's just not always there. So this is one of Kenny's first chances, and again, he's got to be getting on the end of this. I mean, the ball is there. He's in front of the defender. The ball's beat this defender. He's beat number 22. He's in on goal. He has got to make contact with that and at least get something on target. And it just runs through, and nothing happens there. So that's one chance. I'm just trying to run through some of these, Paul, because I'm mindful we're nearly half an hour in and we haven't sort of really got anywhere yet. So I'm just trying to sort of shuffle through. Shout out if you want me to shut up. We're sort of... Terry tries for Nidron. So Ralston does well with the tackle here, wins the ball, and he wins a corner there. Keeper's trying to clean that one up.
This is the one that Maeda skews wide. So on Johnny Kane, the chance early doors, you're right, McCowan slips in Maeda scampers away, great ball in. And it's very similar to the chance he had early doors against United. He got a slightly better contact in the United game. He barely got contact on this. I think he skims it with his studs or whatever, but he got a side foot on it, but really poor against it. Probably easier than the chance against Aberdeen even, and this was pretty easy. I just think he's, for a couple of things about Johnny Kenny. Neither really his fault as such. I think he's got limitations as a player. He's still around because Brendan Rodgers saw him as his third choice striker, right? He saw him as a young a developed third choice striker. At that point you had Kyogo and Adamida, and he was to be the young third striker in his late teens, early 20s at that point. We sell Kyogo a year ago, or under a year ago. We let Adamida go in the summer. We grab Iheanacho after the window's closed on a free out of contract. He's barely played football in 2 years because he's, injured consistently. What a surprise that's happened again. Leaving us with Johnny Kenny as our apparently main striker.
Shin Yamada.
Well,
he's no played at all. I mean, he comes out the cold and you're expecting miracles. It's like the laddie's no kick the ball. I mean,
I've got a couple of things here. So Johnny Kenny, limited player, right? Limited player, shouldn't be leading the line for Celtic. That's the first thing. No disrespect to him, but he's a third choice player. But I also think he's a confidence player. And you saw him get a bit of a run. He scored against Rangers. He looked like he might get more goals. Unfortunately, if you're going to be the best striker at Celtic or the number one striker for Celtic, you cannot be a confidence player. Like, I'd argue that anyone who wants to be a first pick for Celtic can't be a confidence player. You need to be anyone if you want to be at the top level. If you need a level of resilience that you can let a bad miss go, you can let a clanger go. You've got to just put that behind and go again and not let it affect you. That's easier said than done, and that's why not everyone will make the grade at a club like Celtic. And people at other clubs and other leagues will go, "She playing the the SPFL." You've got to win every game at Celtic, as you're seeing for the pressure that wilfriednancy's under right now. And if your head goes down because you miss a chance or two, then it's not the club for you. Look at Kyogo, right? He's a perfect example. That kid missed tons of chances, played with a smile on his face, let it go, scored the next one, and scored a hatful of goals for us. So, I think Kenny's got two problems. He's not really good enough, but I don't think he's got the mental resilience to lead the line for Celtic and have that weight of shoulders. And that's not really his fault, right? That's not his intention, certainly not at 22 years of age. So we 100% need another striker. The Shin Yamada situation, for me, I just find baffling. Like, for a series of managers, obviously Rodgers took the huff and decided he didn't sign him, so he didn't want to play him. Childish, especially when you've got Iheanacho getting injured. And you've got other people saying, some people connected to the channel saying he's even worse than Johnny Kenny. Now, on current form, I would say, even with a duff knee and a half duff knee, I'd have tucked away some of the chances that Johnny Kenny's missed in the last few days. So I cannot believe that Shin Yamada would be a worse choice up front for us. And I think for his own sake and for our sake, Johnny Kenny needs to be hauled out of the starting lineup. I've got, there's been people on our normal Monday show, the flagship show, saying we've not got an option, so we've got to stick with him. I disagree. Like, if Shin Yamada can't be any worse, as you say, he's been in cold storage for months. Give him 2 games. Give him the next 2 games from the start and see what he does. And you might find that I would be very surprised if he's not an upgrade on Johnny Kenny on current form. I'm not saying he's a world beater. I'm not saying he should be the starting striker for Celtic under normal circumstances, but let's be clear, we're not in normal circumstances, and he's worth a spin. He's hardly played. When he played against Rangers, I actually thought he did okay. He held the ball up, he drew fouls, his first touch was good, and in the system that's been asked of him here, his first touch and his back to goal and be able to link up and bring players in, I think he can play that position certainly better than Johnny Kenny's doing at the minute. Jesus, I would almost play Benjamin Nygren as a false 9 at the minute ahead of Johnny Kenny, because despite his frustrations, and I agree with you on them, he's our top goal scorer and one of our top assist makers so far this season. His touch isn't amazing, but it's better than Johnny Kenny's. He can bring other players into the game. His passing is pretty good. He understands how to play in that area. And I think he can probably play the false 9 that we're kind of playing, that back to goal, dropping deep, linking the play and spinning in behind and then getting on the end of stuff. I think he could easily play that position at a better level than Johnny Kenny currently is. Yes, that leaves us a gap in one of the forward positions, but we've got options around there. You've still got Maeda, you've still got McCowan, you've got Engels. You can play further forward. You've got Bernardo coming in behind, or you know what I mean. You can play a right back on the right wing.
We've got a bit of depth.
You can play Forrest in there because he's not asked to track back as much. You can play Yang in there and play a fullback on the wide position. Do you know what I mean? We've got options. So I just think it's madness that Johnny Kenny is still the frontline striker.
Right,
I feel for him.
Yeah.
I feel for him.
Yes or no on this one, because we need to keep moving. Jerry Burns saying here, Kyogo on loan in January, still doing enough for the SPFL. Would you take Kyogo back? Yes or no?
On loan to the end of the season, 100%. 100%.
Okay.
It's not let's be honest. I want a really good striker coming in, because I think we need that regardless. A brilliant number 9 is what we need long term, and it doesn't really matter if Nancy doesn't last the distance or not. You'll always need a great striker.
Yeah, striker.
Whether you can get one in the window coming up, but a player like Kyogo, yes, he's been off form. He's a wee bit older, but even if he's not as good as he was last year,
still better than what we've got.
He's going to be a mile better than what we've got. So yeah, as a loan player, and it would suit him trying to get back in the World Cup squad. I need to say, you don't need to go back, but at least he understands what's expected. He understands the mentality to play for Celtic. I think for 5 months, 6 months, he'd thrive.
No, I brought this up last night on Axom. Brian McGarry brings it up, but it's Paul Tisdale, who's our director of football, doctor, whatever. He's on holidays. He's sunning himself somewhere in Europe. We're less than 2 weeks away from a transfer window opening. I'm questioning Michael Nicholson, the whole hierarchy, going, well, why would you authorize this guy to go away on leave right before potentially his, probably the most important transfer window we've had in donkey's years? And since he's been an absolute pig's ear the last one, you think he'd be doing his best to fix it. You're thinking, well, gee, have we got all these players lined up already? And he's, well, I'm off on holiday because it's all been done. I doubt that very much. I think we'll be scrambling and scraping all through the month of January. If we're even late, I haven't had any paper talk or any rumors. So that's, and this is the issue, is that, all right, Wilfried Nancy's got a win last night, but this guy is responsible for bringing Wilfried Nancy in. All right, we're hoping this is going to spark a rejuvenation, and we're heading in the right direction. But obviously, there's no guarantees of that at the moment. It's early days. We still need to get some results against Livingston and Motherwell to try and get us going. But this guy is now, he's responsible for bringing players in. And, when you overpay for Tinekti, who's at AFCON, and I think it's actually made Wilfried Nancy's job easier, the fact that he's not there, because that's one less player it's one less round peg in a square hole, or however you want to express it. And then you've got Michael Ange Balaquisha, who we apparently have started for 2 years. I don't know what system he would fit into. I really don't. A 4-3-3, a 3-4-3.
I actually think that the system Nancy wants to play would potentially suits him. Similarly, I think the system suits Nygren better as well. I think he's a 10. He's not a winger.
Right,
we know that.
Okay, all right. Well, I appreciate that, and I can see the logic in that. But
hang on, he wasn't signed with this system in mind, which is the daft decision.
Correct. That's the point I was about to make. It's like we were playing a 4-3-3. It's like, and that's what we played for years. It's like, where does he fit into that? He doesn't. And this is the thing. And we've paid a lot of money for him. Paid a lot of money for Sebastian Tinekti, who, in some quarters you could say is the Tunisian Mikey Johnson. I mean, like a lot of beating of players and a lot of show, but then where's the output? Where are the assists? Where are the goals? And that was always a criticism that was labelled at Mikey Johnson, was that he flat out to deceive. He'd beat a man and then he'd go beat that man again, and then there'd be no output because he'd either get tired, he'd trip over the ball, he'd lose the ball, turn it over, not producing anything with that final pass. And that's been our Achilles heel all season, is that final pass, that final ball is not there. And yes, Jota's injured, I get it, but you've got to recognise that, he's come back from a long-term injury. you've got to recruit to cover for that, and we just haven't. And the thing is, our left-hand side has been stronger than our right-hand side, which has just basically been non-existent all season. We've literally not. I haven't sat down and worked it out, but I would have to say that at least 3/4 of our goals would have to come down the left-hand side compared to the right-hand side. We just don't seem to attack with that, and with no AJ, it's even worse. There's nothing there. It's just like it's James Forrest and Yang, and I'm not disparaging on Yang because I think he has grown into that right wing back position, and he put in a couple of really decent deliveries, and he's actually responsible for the first goal, which we probably really need to go into because it's 41 minutes and we're kind of dilly-dallying here. So I'm going to get to that. So Nygren has a shot here, and I'm sorry, I'll bring this up, Paul, 2 seconds. So Nygren has a shot, he goes wide, and then he sort of breaks through again. And this is the one where he sort of dances past all the players, and the keeper forces the keeper save. Ball breaks to Kalmack. Again. So this was Kenny's other chance. That's right, and this is the one where
pulls it past the post. Like he's just got to tuck that away. Like a striker, even a half decent striker on reasonable form,
should be hitting the target. Grab hitting the target there. So this is it. So this is a joke about everything coming down our left-hand side. Yang, our right wing back, somehow cuts inside, loses the ball, but somehow still on the left wing, wins the ball back.
Well, he starts wide on the right. He cuts in. He makes it to about where that Aberdeen defender is on the edge of the box, and gets sort of snuffed up by a couple of defenders, and they shuffle it to the sort of right channel here. And Yang stayed on the move, and he sort of started a half press, and then he's going, I can actually get to this guy. I'll be first guy on the scene. And so he just runs and sprints. He wins the ball back. He plays it off to Luke McCowan. McCowan plays a lovely slid ball again, as you say, for multiple times in the first half. He did that. And Maera's in. And unlike in some of the other games recently, instead of just playing a ball into an area and hoping that you get an outcome, he gets his head up and Nygren's making a great run. He's sort of delayed his run. He hasn't got overexcited. He hasn't put himself sort of beyond the defenders where you're going to sort of bounce the ball around and hope for the best. He's just sort of held back enough, slid straight in his path, and then, he's still got to tuck it away, but it's a pretty simple finish, as you can see from there. Slides it into the far corner. And it's a really well-constructed goal, and really more than was deserved. Sort of, no more than what was deserved by that point. We should have been a couple of goals up at least. Kenny's got 2 great chances, which we've shown. And then there's some other pressure around the place. So good finish. And sort of puts us kind of where we should be at the very least. But while it's 1-0, while you're 1-0, there's always a risk of goal. But in this team with the defensive frailties, you're genuinely concerned. This is late in the half, I think. It's a whip. I want to
bring this up because Schmeichel should be catching this. Like, there's not 100%. An Aberdeen player anywhere near him here, and he's punched this. And I was thinking, like, under what pressure is he under here? Like, it's Celtic defenders all around him. He should be claiming that all day, every day. The clamour for Sinisalo to come in is becoming stronger and stronger because, the criticism of him going with his opposite hand for that shot against Dundee United during the week. I don't know why on earth the ball's going past your left side and you're stretching with your right arm. I'm not sure, Paul. Which shoulder did he do when he?
His right.
He's right. So I mean,
his right shoulder.
I just don't understand it. I really don't. And for me, where I get to the goal, but to go back to the Hearts goal, he's the one standing there with basically his hand up going, Bragger's offside. He's always remonstrating with a linesman. He's just like, he seems distracted. Like, it's like, just focus on being a goalkeeper and like organising your back line. But he seems to like always be, and then we'll get to the goal in the second half. And I kind of feel the same thing. Like, he's looking for a foul on Maeda. There's no foul there, but he's almost stopped. And he's standing there like a statue. And it's like, you can't do that. And he's done it on several occasions since wilfriednancy's come in. I know he had some good saves under Martin O'Neill, but I just feel we Schmeichel, he's on borrowed time until Denmark's qualifier in March. against Macedonia. And if they don't get past that, I reckon he'll chuck it then and there. I think the only reason he's sticking it out at the moment is for that World Cup.
Yeah, he wants to go to the World Cup.
It's the only thing. It's only his keep him going.
In his mind's eye, he was expecting to go to the World Cup, and he'd be wrapping it after that. I'm completely convinced with that. Now, obviously, Scotland put paid to automatic qualification, so they're in the mix and not straightforward on the qualifiers either, which is why I'm glad we didn't have to go through that process. But yeah, you could absolutely make a case for switching him. I agree with you should catch it, not just punch it. The problem is, and this happens to goalkeepers at this age, at this time in their career, there are going to be mistakes. They're going to slow down a little bit. But even over the course of the season, even though the mistakes have got bigger and more often, he's still made saves that, not every goalkeeper makes. Like, his experience and his ability to spread himself has sort of saved the day a few times. So it's one of those easy. It's an easy one to say. Switch the goalies. It could go either way, but he under normal circumstances. I think with everything else going on,
I get it. You don't want to change too many things.
You have to rock the boat. Plus, he's still a leader on the pitch and in the dressing room, and we need leadership whilst this changeover is going. Is this the goal? No.
This is the red card.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
So basically the keeper's played the ball out here. I mean, he's obviously trying to hit this defender here. He's played it into no man's land. This was out, so I'm like, I don't know what keeper just had to put. This was literally right before halftime, so all I had to do was put it in row Z, but he's decided to try and play it out.
It's just that, like, even if you think that's the pass you want to make, look at Lobben's position. He's in no position to receive that ball. Like, we've talked about this before. Players not on the half turn with their back to the rest of the pitch. Like, even if he gives that to him, he's in trouble because Maera's going to put him under pressure and he's facing the wrong way. He probably just has to put it back again. But Matov's got no business playing that ball to him. Like, it's literally the end of the game, end of the half. He just put it up the pitch and it's away. I watched this obviously on Celtic TV as if live. I've since watched the highlights on the BBC, and I can't remember their commentator, but he is adamant that it's going to be overturned. There's no contact. Like, don't get me wrong, that's a soft foul, right? That's a soft foul. It's a foul. It's clearly a foul, but it's a soft foul. In any other circumstances, it's not a yellow card even, never mind a red card. But the problem is he's the last man and he's stopping a goal scoring opportunity. Maeda, if he doesn't get pulled down, is running in on goal and he's just the keeper to beat. So there's no guarantee, by the way, that ends up as a goal. But anything could happen at that point. But it's a genuine goal scoring chance. I'm not going to waste any more time on it. It's a stonewall red card. Referee and VAR got the right decision. Mitov sold the jerseys. Luckily for him, he probably redeemed himself second half.
Yeah, I mean, I was doing sort of live coverage for the start of the second half, but in the space of the 2 minutes that we were on air at the start of the second half, I think there was probably Mitov pulled two excellent saves, one from Trusty, one from Callum McGregor, where like it was harder to, it was one of those ones where it's harder to miss than it was to
the Trusty header is a really good header. It's down. He's done everything right. Down low, good delivery, heads it down into the corner. The angle's in probably in Mitov's favour there, and it's a long way out, but he's a good, makes himself big, tips it around the post. Good save. The next one, McGregor obviously ends up applauding the keeper, and he looks a bit shocked. I think he should score this, right? Don't get me wrong. It's a good reaction save. He gets his arms straight up when he's already gone past the ball. But look where McGregor is. He's inside the penalty spot, and he just hits it smack in the middle of the goals. If you go either side, you score. Yeah. Right? It's a bit like McCowan's chance at the end of the first half. Now, I don't need to go back and look at the pictures, but he's on the edge of the box and he hits it straight down the throat of the keeper. Now, the keeper makes a sort of a straight, it's one for the cameras, right? He dives up and he tips it over the bar. And people are saying, it's a really good effort, a great save. It isn't a great save. It's right down his throat. Like, if he hits that to either side of the keeper, he probably scores. So it's just another example. You said profligate at the beginning of the show. Absolutely spot on. Mitov, there was a bunch of saves where he actually saved the ball or he tipped it away from players rushing in.
Yeah.
this is a good example. Johnny Kenny thinks he's going to score, and the same from the other side. And he manages to tip it, and luckily there's enough players around for Aberdeen to get it clear. This is a brilliant chance. Like, and not dissimilar to the chance, I think it's against Hearts, is it? When Engels comes in on a great cross, makes a good contact, and it unfortunately goes straight at the keeper. The keeper makes a good save, but neither of them know much about it. I think Engels just throws his head at it. The keeper just sort of stands up big, and it hits off him. I think Engels probably needs to work if he's going to continue to get himself in those positions, and he's taken up great positions, and he's showing the hunger to get on the end of stuff. He probably needs to work on the training ground on headers at goal, because he got the one at Hibs, and there was a bit of luck involved in that. He just got good contact, and the keeper didn't stop it. But he's now had two really good chances, one off the post, one off the keeper, and we should score. The last thing I'll say on all of those chances, and I don't know if it was included in there, but we hit the post twice from the left-hand side, dropping onto the back post. And a lot of people say, oh, hit the post, how unlucky are we? I'm gonna be a bit negative and say these are bad crosses, right?
They were crosses.
They're crosses, right? They're poor crosses that haven't picked out the players they're picking out, and they've
Engels
drifted
did one,
goal.
and Niedren did one.
Niedren did the first one, and then Engels basically replicated it. And there was almost one from the other side. And I like, these are bad crosses. Like, if they drop in, great, you get a lucky goal. But I'm not saying like, and yeah, we hit the woodwork a lot of times. That's bad. That counts as a miss. That's an off-target attempt. That's why on 31 attempts, only 10 are on target, because all those ones off the frame of the goal are off target. Let's get on to this, because we are running out of time. So this starts from Jamesy Forrest running down our right wing, and him trying to play a cross into the box, which he's done well. He's got around his man. He's got to the byline. He's put it across. It's been blocked. He popped out into the left back position, and from the left back position with a press, Aberdeen play out of their left-hand back corner up to the edge of the penalty box. They get Armstrong on the ball. He drives forward. He shifts it, and then it's played through the middle to this point where I can't remember this guy's name. It's a big midfielder that came off the bench. Another one of the Scandinavian contingent. He's probably got a name.
I'll find out.
Kajar Tunson, I think his name is. I've just pulled it up. And so Maeda, in the first instance, Maeda does really well. He chases back well, like he often does. He puts pressure on, and it looks like he's potentially going to win the ball. However, he's caught off balance because of how the pace he's been moving at. And the big guy has basically used his momentum and his body weight just to sort of spin him. And it's never a foul. Absolutely never a foul. We're all calling for a foul. It's not a foul. You're right. Backlines, can we just go back briefly to the picture before? So the issue we've got here is once Maeda has lost his footing, your man's
that's Liam
in
Scales,
the clear. The midfielder's in the clear because, as you point out rightly, Liam Scales has jumped the gun. So Liam Scales has come from 3 or 4 or 5 yards in front of the ball. So if he stays where he is, he's facing up that midfielder, and he's the first man on the scene. He's closing him down. He hasn't got time to play a pass. But Scales, probably, I would imagine it's some sort of guidance from the manager is that when we win the ball back, we're on the offensive, or he's just had a brain melt, one of the two. But I'm going to give him the benefit of doubt and say that, tactics have said we want to be on the front foot when we win the ball back. Problem for Liam Scales is we haven't won the ball back, and he's jumped the gun on that, and he's pulled himself out of position, and now he's out of the game. So if we just jump on to the next, so where he's playing that pass from by this point is probably where Scales would have been standing, right? He would have been standing at that point when he made the decision to bolt forward. If he holds his position, and let's be honest, right? He's the left centre back in a back three, right?
It's a back three. Yeah,
it's a back three, right? He's not the full back. He's not a midfielder. He's this is just ridiculous. Anyway, he's jumped the gun. He's completely out of position, and your man strides forward and just slides it in behind Trusty. We're way too flat, and the striker just is it Bililovic? Is it Bililovic? Yeah. He just runs beyond Trusty, and it's not a great finish, right? He puts it too near the keeper. Schmeichel gets a hand to it. He probably should save that. He gets enough of a contact on it. But he doesn't, and it bobbles beyond him and into the net. And we've only got ourselves to blame. at this point. We've missed literally 5, 6, 7, 8 chances. And then we gift them a goal from nowhere. One, by being too easy to play through higher up the pitch, but then two, by a player jumping out of position for no good reason. Absolutely no good reason. Like, if you're chasing the game, so say that happens and we're 1-0 down. I almost give Scales a pass because he's going, well, I'm gambling. If I can get in, then we've got the numbers, and then potentially we get an equaliser. At 1-0 up that late in the game, once again, I'm sorry, it's unforgivable by Scales.
Well, it's match awareness. Like, I get that they're being told a lot of new information, and I understand that football players are simple creatures at times, in the sense that, like, you know, certain players can only take on board so much information. So your Callum McGregors, your Kieran Tierney's of the world, they're probably a more of an elite footballer. They can understand what's required, and they've probably adapted to the system a lot quicker because obviously they played the national teams, you know, so on and so forth. But when you get a situation like this where a new manager comes in with new ideas, it really does show up certain players who clearly either are a bit slow up here, in the sense that, like, they just can't get to grips with it as quick as others. And it's speed of thought. It's not that he's not athletic enough. It's the fact that he's decided in this instance to push on. And it sounds rather innocuous. You're going, well, all right, he's not quite got that right. But it was the same with Tinekti, that second goal against Roma. He decides to press with no one else supporting him, and he goes out of position, and they just play around him. And then all of a sudden, they're right in on our left, their right-hand side. And it's just one player having a brain snap or a brain melt. And it's all it takes for the whole system to come undone. And I think, for me, this is the issue with Wilfried Nancy's system defensively. Offensively, we've created a gazillion chances, like 10 real good shots, 10 shots on target, 30 shots on goal. All right, I'd probably say 4 or 5 of them are big chances. So, you know, we score 3, okay. But you got to be a little bit more circumspect. We've basically removed Callum McGregor as that screen from the midfield. So the back 3 is literally a back 3. But if he's given instructions to the left-sided or right-sided fullback, centre half, to bomb on when we win possession, effectively you're going to a back 2. And that's okay when you're in possession and the ball's in their final third. But we were in transition and he's gone on the gallop and it's completely turned over. And then you've got to look at Ralston and Trusty and say, well, are they meant to be that square? Should they be like, should they not be dropping off? Like, what's the position in there? Is that correct? Is that not correct? So you've got that issue there as well. I don't think that's 100% correct. And then I still play into the narrative a little bit that we kind of stopped a bit expecting that free kick for Maeda when there was not one there. I kind of feel like we all sort of just stopped for half a second.
I agree.
And Aberdeen played the whistle and we didn't.
Yeah. It's the same as the Hearts goal. Very similar. I've seen a lot of, throughout the show, I've seen a lot of people sort of referring to Nancy's system as not dissimilar to Ange's. And there's an argument to be made here, right? Ange plays, and particularly if you look at him when he went to Spurs, it was more exposed. Like he played really high line, really aggressive with his defensive players. So I think it's a valid comparison. I guess the difference is he didn't radically change the shape, I guess, in terms of the 4-3-3. He inverted the wing backs, which was quite revolutionary for our team. So there was a lot to learn, and there was a lot of bumps in the road in that first sort of half of the season until it sort of clicked. I guess the difference is he had a full pre-season, he got bodies in the building, he got quality in the building, and they had time to play in the first half of the season to do that. We've not got that luxury, so we don't have players, we don't have a pre-season, we don't have time to get used to it, and we really lack in quality because of the underinvestment in the squad and just the poor state of recruitment over the last 2 or 3 windows. But I'll be honest, right? When that goal happened, it didn't surprise me in the slightest, having watched the previous 4 games. Paul Cuddihy on Celtic TV is giving it, the stadium's stunned, everyone is shocked, no one can believe this has happened. I'm sitting on my sofa this morning going, are you for real? Like, if you haven't watched the last 4 games that we've played, when we give up chances and are profligate in front of goal, as sure as the sun rises and sets, if you don't take your chances, you get punished. And yeah, so it was completely unsurprising to me. What was a surprise to me is that we were resilient enough to fight back, because I thought I'd won each. We were done. They had something to hang on to. There's 15 minutes to go. They would dig in, be resolute, and to be honest, they nearly got there. Fair play to the team for going back to the well. Fair play to the fans that were in the ground, because it would have been very easy to get on the player and managers back at that point, and there was a noticeable and audible rise in support inside the ground to try and push the team on. And fair play, the players rose to the occasion. And this ball from Donovan is absolutely brilliant, and it makes the case for him being in the side, whether it's in the right wing back position or the right centre back position with the license to come forward. It's a brilliant cross. The disappointing thing about this is the 2 strikers miss it entirely. Yeah, they missed the ball entirely. So Shin Yamada, Daisen Miera, both missed the ball. Luckily, by this point, KT's moved up from centre-back. To the downside of him moving up, his scales is at centre-back, making an absolute hash of things. The upside is that he's in the wide position, an attacking position, and he's got the wherewithal and the forethought to get himself into the box and make up the extra man at the back post. And he then sticks the napper on it and tucks it away. And he looked delighted. There was audible signs of relief from the management team. Nance didn't even really celebrate the goal. He just sort of breathed a massive sigh of relief. He celebrated the third, which was great to see. And, whatever you think about the manager and his system and what he's done and how he's gone about it, he's just a bloke that's moved from the other side of the world and is trying to make his way at a big club. And, you've got to be pretty hard-hearted not to be pleased for him and for the team and for all of us as fans that we managed to get the job done. And it might just be a slight bump. Hopefully it's the start of something bigger. But we should just I know we're over time already, but we should make time to talk about the third goal. And our very own Duracell bunny, Jamesy Forrest, 17 seasons now on the spin. He scored for Celtic. That man just keeps adding records to his Celtic storied history. It's a really well worked goal. It's a really well crafted goal. Scales, to be fair to him, his passing's quite often poor. He plays a really good ball forward. Nygren's in a ton of space, but this is now in injury time. He plays a great ball in. Nygren, and this is why I think he's got the ability to play in that false nine position. He holds the ball really well. He's got space. Aberdeen players are knackered, obviously 10 men, but he's got the presence of mind just to hold the ball up and wait. And fair play to Carl. He's absolutely bombed on from up near where Scales was. He runs past him. Nygren times the pass to perfection. He doesn't have to break stride. He gets his head up, and Jamesy just takes a step out and holds his position. McGregor finds him, and it's a really, really good finish. He just opens his body, one touch, slips it under the goalkeeper, and we're all relieved and excited and pleased for Jamesy Forrest and the fact that we've got a win with a wee bit of breathing space, and hopefully that can do a world of good and confidence to the players and the manager. Like I say, it could be a false dawn. Hopefully it's the start of something better. But brilliant, really well worked goal. We've been threatening to do that to them all night or all afternoon, and in the end, we got it done. So yeah, delighted for Jamesy, delighted for the team and the manager, and hopefully we can use it as a platform to move forward.
Quickly mention here, I mean, I took TV on while I was doing Axum at halftime, and yeah, they had the girls team doing a rapping soccer ball contest at halftime as content. And you wonder why fan media has exploded and has become as successful as it is, because we're filling a gap in the market, because there's no analysis, there's no real... And it's the same when it's on Sky Sports as well, because you watch that and it's just ads. It's literally wall-to-wall ads up till the kickoff. They literally have a 30-second grab of Haley Barber going, Oh, yep, and we're going to be back next for the Celtic game, and we've got Formula One on, and we've got, this is English Premier League games back in a minute, and then there's another 10 minutes, 5 minutes of ads, and then they come back, and it's just like there's just actually no actual talking about the games. So you wonder why things like Axom and that do so well, like round games, because you're filling a gap in the market because it's just lost by advertising and just the product being treated like absolute garbage, and that's by that's by club media and by the main rights holder in Sky Sports. So yeah, I totally get it. And Kev one's saying here as well, it's TV shocking. It's a really poor product.
Well, we pay, if you pay, I pay $300.
It's £12.99 to watch that pay-per-view on the weekend. Like
so
last night,
we pay about $300 for what basically my season ticket, right? $300. The equivalent of $25 people in the UK were paying for that match yesterday, and they're getting dreadful commentary, barely any analysis, and look, even just the optics of the women's team wrapping balls, presents, whatever you want to do, is a bad look. It's certainly not content. The less said about Celtic TV, the better. Celtic TV, and we've on this show and others, we've complained about Celtic TV for years. It's just another example about how the club generally doesn't give a shit about fans. It's just give us your money and you'll get bare minimum for your investment. Look, I know we're over time.
I just want to bring this one image up, Paul. Just bear with me. Just keep talking. But I'm just trying to. I've got one more thing I want to bring up.
Well, I was just going to say, just another example of how little the custodians of the club care. And yeah, we should mention there was a decent sized protest in front of the ground. I've seen some of the clips in terms of the speakers, which were excellent. And hopefully getting the message out to people of what the Celtic Fan Collective is. It's just fans. It's just Celtic fans getting together to try and press to make the club as good as it can be. That's literally all it is. There's been many different tactics to try and get change in the boardroom, but ultimately, I don't think anyone can look at the Celtic squad and the Celtic, the way the club has been run at the moment, and say that we are the best we could be. I think anyone that argues that we are the best we could be, fair play, but I think you might need to either lay off the booze or go see your doctor, because and I don't mean the football doctor. We're absolutely nowhere near where we could and should be, and the drop off from Munich less than 12 months ago to today is unbelievably bad, and the only people responsible for that are the custodians of the club and the way it's been run. So brilliant to see that there was a good turnout for the demonstration. I'm sure it will continue. We've obviously got our Where's the Ambition campaign, and that was one of the things we mentioned in some of the speeches before the game. Is it's about ambition. So yeah, hopefully we will see some progress, but I think it's a long road. You were wanting to mention this, I guess. I
want to bring this image up. I think wilfriednancy looks about 10 years younger in this photo because he's smiling. He doesn't look under as much stress and pressure, even if it is only for a moment. But that's him with his assistant Ampadu, and I just think that's it's a nice wee moment because he must have been under immense pressure in that last couple of weeks, and yeah, some of that might be his own doing, but the humans inside all of us as Celtic fans, you've got to sort of appreciate that there's a human being there, and it's good to see him actually have a smile on his face, and hopefully the first of many. Paul, Kieran Tierney was the official man of the match, Daffabet man of the match at the game on the weekend. I had Luke McCowan penciled in at half-time as a potential man of the match, but he got taken off about 67 minutes. Kind of maybe petered out a wee bit at the start of the second half. Maeda thought petered out start of the second half. Thought he had a good first half as well. Cal Mack was in and about it. But yeah, I think I'm probably going to stick with Kieran Tierney because, he obviously started at left centre-back, and then obviously drifted out to the left wing back position. He gets on the end of the chance, keeps his eye on the ball, basically, where our two centre forwards didn't, and got the win. Or got the goal that obviously ends up winning the match. So for me, I can agree that he's a man of the match. Any disagreements with that?
Well, I to the names you've already mentioned, I thought Yang had an excellent first half, and we've touched on him a bit. I was very, very close to going with Benjamin Nygren for man of the match. His contribution was great. He misplaced a few passes, but in the position in the pitch he's in, a bit like Hatate before him. If you're going to play forward passes and take risks, then you're going to probably miss your target more often than somebody who's playing it back to the goalie or sideways to his centre back partner. I thought he was great. He linked the play well. He played with his head up. I think the system allows him to play to his strengths, and some of his weaknesses are sort of disguised a bit. Like, I think he does lack pace. I've talked about that before. He isn't asked to run at the same sort of kind of if he's playing in wide position, because I think he's a 10 and this system suits him. Excuse me. And then he obviously gets the goal, and he's crucial to that third goal as well. So yeah, very close to going with Nygren, but I think I agree with you and the sponsors. Kieran Tierney just edged it.
Fantastic. Unanimous decision. Love it. Paul, recommendations. Oh, you're dying. Well, while you're recovering, my wife had a suggestion for a TV show this week. So we literally watched the first episode just before it came on air. Heated Rivalry. Show about hockey, ice hockey. Not for the faint-hearted. That's all I'm going to say. I'm going to leave that one there. But thought I wanted to check that out. It's on HBO Max. But interesting. Paul, what have we got?
So TV. I mentioned Down Cemetery Road a few weeks ago, saying it was on Apple TV. Based on the Mick Herron book, who Mick Herron wrote Slow Horses. Ruth Wilson, Emma Thompson led the cast. I mentioned it, that
yes,
it was something I was looking forward to watching, but I hadn't watched any of it yet. Finished it probably last week. Absolutely brilliant. Really, really good. A little bit far-fetched in parts, not going to lie, but so Slow Horses. But if you enjoy Slow Horses, I think you'll thoroughly enjoy this. The cast is stacked. The writing's obviously good. And yeah, some great lines, same kind of wry humor, and action and all of that. And really, great. Ruth Wilson and Emma Thompson, fantastic actors. So yeah, well worth a watch. Obviously mentioned it in passing previously, but I've actually watched it and can definitely vouch for it. Album or recommendation of the week is the new Charlatans album, We Are Love. Now I haven't done my research properly, so I can't tell you if this is their 13th, 14th, 15th. I don't know studio album, but anyone that knows their music knows the Charlatans have been around a long time. A band mini series I mentioned a few weeks ago. I said that the lead singer sounded a bit like Tim Burgess. Well, this week you've got actual Tim Burgess. So yeah, if you're a Charlatans fan or you've liked their previous work, highly recommend the new album We Are Love. It's a real return to form. Not that they've ever really gone off form, but it's a great album. So yeah, check that out. Album of the week.
Fantastic. Thank you, Paul. Thank you for everyone getting involved in the comments section. It was pretty lively for the most part there. Do my best to try and bring up your comments. Gaddafi, just one right at the end here saying, if we sack the board, who takes over? That is a whole nother podcast.
We'll just say quickly on that, because I did see that and I thought we were going to let it pass.
Well, no. I would say very quickly that board members shouldn't be there for 20 years. There should be a continual turnover of board positions over a period of time. It's poor corporate governance, and that's all I'm going to sort of touch on that at the moment. So that for me is
You can hire board members. Exactly. You can choose to drop board members off and have new blood. And that's exactly the point, that, this board has passed its base. You've got Brian Wilson acting as the interim chairman. He's been at the club for 20 odd years. Now he wrote a pretty good history book on Celtic when I was a kid. I don't think that necessarily means he should be a board member for 20 odd years. It's just, you're right. It's just not good corporate governance to have the same people in charge. You need fresh ideas. I'm sure they were reasonably good board members 20 odd years ago. The world's changed. They're dinosaurs. We need fresh blood. We need fresh ideas. And that's the same right through the infrastructure and in the upper echelons of the management. So yeah, that's your answer there.
Please like the episode. It helps other like-minded Celts find us online. We'll be back next week discussing all things Celtic versus Livingston. Livingston versus Celtic, because we're on the plastic pitch. So hopefully we give Davy Martindale a touch up, and we're talking about another Celtic win. But we are well over time. But there's a lot to talk about tonight. A lot to like on Wilfried Nancy's first win. It's not perfect, but it's a start with the rest of the rot, and hopefully we're on our way. So we'll be back next week, and we look forward to having you join us then. All I have to say, Paul, is hail, hail.
Hail, hail.